What's up, guys? It's Tim from Coastal Life Media, and first of all, thank you so much for joining me yet again in Six Flags Adventureland, a fictional park that would exist if Six Flags were to build a brand new amusement park from the ground up around about the year 2015 or even later. We are actually picking up a little bit of where we left off in the last episode. I wanted to show some things that I've done since then. First of all, I would like to show you guys the biggest change or addition is this stage right off the entrance of the small kids area of Kidsopolis. I, of course, wanted to add a little stage because that is another thing that you would have to keep kids interested and keep kids in the area that was designed for them specifically. I basically built this stage. The music notes are actually in game. The Looney Tunes characters were off the Theme Maker's Toolkit, as well as the Looney Tunes sign, which is actually broken in half. You have one sign that says Looney and then the bottom sign that says Tunes. And the reason why I sunk it in to this curtain, which I also got off of the Theme Maker's Toolkit, was to give the illusion that Looney Tunes was printed on the curtain and not just a sign that was stuck over it. And so that when the curtain would open, you know, the Looney Tunes would be on the curtain as well. So basically, I put this here for little shows that would go on throughout the day for kids in this kids area, as well as, you know, the rides and everything. So basically, the plan is to keep kids in here and keep kids busy in this nice little circular area of the park. Now, another thing that I've done outside of this is I've built this giant Larson looper, which is going to be called Fireball, which is the most common name for this ride. I actually designed the queue for this literally off of the queue for this ride in Six Flags Great America. If you guys have ever been on the Mardi Gras Hangover, you would know that almost exactly how this is, where you come through the overpass of the train and you have the Mardi Gras Hangover, which used to be King something's Chaos. It was a different ride, but now it has this one, this Mardi Gras Hangover ride, where you basically come in and then you have it to your right if you're coming from the other side of the park, and you basically go through and you cut through this extra queue that was really only in use around the first few weeks of the ride being open, and now you basically just bypass it and go through this area of the park. So I basically designed that with that in mind. It's not done yet. I still have to do some fencing work on this side, as well as figure out how I want to enclose this. In reality, at Great America, there is a restaurant and plaza right here, but I did not want to. Again, I'm not copying any specific park completely. Like I said in one of the earlier episodes, I wanted to pull some of the best things from each park that I see, and that is one of them. Oddly enough, when you look through Six Flags Great America in the Google Street View, it is back around the time where the ride that preceded this in this location was there. Another thing that's weird is that a lot of rides have been moved since then, either taken out or moved completely, such as the Octopus ride, which is now it's near the Hometown Square area of the park, used to be in the Mardi Gras area of the park, and a few other things that are kind of different around there, which is kind of interesting to see because it was the Google Street View was actually taken during the 2016 Fright Fest And Jasmine and I did not start going to Six Flags Great America on a regular basis until maybe 2017, or actually whatever year that the Mardi Gras Hangover was new was around about the year that we started going, because we saw a lot of Six Flags commercials on Hulu, and we looked at each other and said, "Hey, you want to go?" And that kind of started something completely insane, to the point where now I have a YouTube channel built around visiting amusement parks, not just locally but around the country. Hopefully we will get some more footage of that soon. But another ride that I don't necessarily know is in the park, but is in a park that I do like, Dollywood, is this Swinging Eagles ride, which I did want to just tuck in and surround by foliage. I still have to do some path work to cover these grass spots right there, but that's basically all I've done so far. And of course, we have the second station of the train, which I really do like because of its simplicity, and it kind of reminds me of some of the train stations that I pass on the Metro rail here in Illinois. There is a Metro station, a Metro train line that goes from the south suburbs where I live to downtown Chicago. And some of the stations closer into the city resemble this, where they just keep it simple. Oddly enough, the more elaborate train stations are out in the suburbs, because of course they have to blend in with the scenery of the suburbs and the look of the town. So this kind of reminds me of that, which is something that I like. Of course, I put some advertisements in here because we're Six Flags. We never miss an opportunity to advertise anything. So yeah, that's pretty much all I've done since then. I also, actually take that back, I copied this building and moved it and moved the copy all the way over here. So when you come over here, that's going to be the first thing you see. There's a reason why I copied the exact building. Parks, when they can, they do that. It's weird. It's kind of lazy of amusement parks to do it, but they do it. And the reason why is to save money. Why spend more money on a brand new design of another building when you can copy a building that you already have built two of them, put one on one side and the other on the other side of the park, and by the time you see one, you'll have forgotten about the other. So that's that. This is the overview of the park as it stands, and today I was hoping to get started on another coaster. Round about this area right here, I wanted to kind of add something to the skyline, because you don't want to get too far from another coaster once you're building other coasters or whatever. I forget how I was trying to phrase that, but either way, the objective of today's episode, as you can see in my nice little welcome flowers, the objective of today's episode is to build the second full circuit coaster, the third coaster of the park, or if you're Six Flags and you count the Larson Looper, the fourth coaster. But me being a coaster enthusiast first and a Planet Coaster player second, I do not count the Larson Looper as a roller coaster. That is just pure poppycock, and you can tell your mother I said that. Either way, we are going to move on to the next coaster in this episode. Hopefully it comes out as something nice. I will check back in with you once we have an update. So immediately you can see that I decided to go with something of an Aero legacy coaster, which would and would not be available at the time this park would be built. It would, because the assets of Aero were sold to SNS, which is still a company that is growing strong right now to this day, but it also would not, because the original layout of, or the original how can I say this? The track design itself was not included in those assets that were sold off. So the copyright to that, it technically does still belong to someone within the original Arrow company. However, you would still be able to get parts for this ride. So in the lore of this park, which of course, as with anything that exists in the fictional realm, there has to be a lore to explain certain things. This ride would technically be a moved coaster. Moved, some of the track was damaged in the move, so rather than try to get it completely refurbished and have it in the same original Arrow model that it was, they decided to take out the second corkscrew and do some work with the steel to change it around slightly. The only difference that you would see from the custom, well, not necessarily the custom loopers, but the prefab loopers that they came up with, would be that after the brake run, you would go into 2 corkscrews and then head back to the station. One of the corkscrews was damaged, so instead of doing that, they did a small custom bit towards the end where you would go around one more time and then make your way into this. However, I hate the in-game Arrow trains because they all say American Arrow, which means if you really wanted to use the original trains, you could basically only name it American Arrow, which is annoying to me because no one wants to name a ride American Arrow. I don't believe there is a specific ride that is named American Arrow, so I don't even know why they printed the name on the trains to the point where it could not be changed. The only way you could change it is if you make the train one solid color and everything just looks like one block of paint, which kind of sucks. So we used these trains right here. I'm assuming they would be with SNS or Premier rides. One of those coasters that also does launch, one of those manufacturers that also does make launch coasters, because they slightly resemble the trains from Mr. Freeze Reverse Blast or Flight of Fear, the Joker ride at Six Flags America. Yeah, it kind of gives me that vibe when I'm looking at it. So it could be that. And it also reminds me slightly of this train. Loosely. It is slightly different from the profile of it. But yeah, back to the coaster. Yeah, so I went with 2 train operations on this. I have a queue loosely drawn out. I'm planning on putting lockers right here, and having that. It does have a very short priority queue that basically would skip the cattle pen area. It would go literally around the cattle pen area and then rejoin the main queue right here and go up the ramp and blah blah blah. So that's all I've done so far. It's going to be called Riddler's Revenge because that is a ride name that is copywritten to Six Flags, and of course, since we are Six Flags here, we want to take advantage of all of the names we already have copywritten so that we don't have to spend more money on copywriting rides, names, things. Duh. So with all of that being said, the reason why I named this Riddler's Revenge is because there are 2 rides that take that name right now. One is a stand-up coaster in... Actually, I believe there's 3 rides that take that name. One is a stand-up B&M coaster at Magic Mountain. Another is... I believe it's a Schwarzkopf. I think it's a Schwarzkopf in Six Flags Over Georgia. And another is a frisbee spin, a frisbee ride, flat ride. So why not make it a 4th is my thinking of that. So that's basically all that I've done so far. I do still have to work on the queue, work on the station, and probably get some scenery around this, get some infrastructure like lockers and signage and stuff like that. But other than that, I'm working on it. So I will check back with you in the next update. As you can see, I've made a bit of a change to the queue layout. It no longer looks exactly how it looked. I kind of gave this ride its own little plaza area, rather than just coming straight up to the main path. That way, it would be a little bit better to control traffic flow. If you Anytime you have a major ride or even just a minor coaster, you never want to put the entrance of the ride right up onto the main path. I did make that mistake right here for the Boomerang Coaster Mindbender, but I learned from that, which is why Superman the Ride has its own very large, spacious plaza, and it even extends all the way back down that way. So the main path curves, and then the plaza for the ride is right here. So you can basically queue up for the ride without disturbing the traffic flow of the main path, which is something that can be done here. In fact, you can pretty much avoid this whole section, which is why I've made it's a circle path. Basically, you can go this way and this way, but you can queue up for this ride without disturbing the traffic of the park at all. So that's what I've done. I've changed the path layout. I've made a sign, which is pretty okay, but it's hella Six Flags. It's you got the name, you got minor theming with that, and you cover it with flowers because they tried to hide the fact that the theming is not really masterfully done by surrounding things with flowers. So you have lockers over here, which is basically the locker stand I copied from Superman. I copied this and moved it over here, rethemed it, added some fencing, a queue cover, which I'm pretty proud of, just because it's so simple. You have the priority pass or flash pass queue, and then the main queue right here. I still haven't finished the fencing for the rest of the queue because, God, doing this much work with the fencing is a lot. Still haven't done the station for Riddler's Revenge because, for one, it's gonna be extremely simple. I'm not gonna go all out and make it heavily detailed for the same purpose that I didn't do it for Superman the Ride, which is because rarely do they have super themed station buildings. In the past 10 years of ride releases, the most I would say the most themed station building a Six Flags park has put out would either be like Max Force or the retheming of the station for Twisted Colossus. But other than that, there's not a lot of heavy theming. So this does not need to be that different. So what I'm going to do now is, because this episode is already getting longer, I'm going to cut it into two parts. I'm going to join you again in the second part of, or the part 2 of this coaster build later on, some other time, hopefully soon. But I do want to stop this video here. And with that, I would like to thank you so much for joining me in this video. I would love to encourage you, if you haven't done so already, to like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and share this video with your friends. I greatly appreciate all of your support. And until next time, this is Tim from Coaster Life Media, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.